Hey everybody, LioConvoy here. I've done a couple of videos in the past that I assumed would have a negative reaction due to not holding the most popular of opinions in these circles. However, those videos were actually pretty well received, and hopefully this one will be as well, but I doubt it. Let's talk about collecting. It's something a lot of people do, whether it's comics, sports, or figures. And it's the last part here that we'll be talking about today, more so concerning ThunderCats. As you may have heard from many pages or from Pixel Dan's channel, Mattel put out the Groon and Jaga figures that were never released for the Matty Collector ThunderCats line on display last weekend at PowerCon. And, as you'd expect, people are excited, talking about what they'd want from the line and everything else involving that. But here's what was said that got my attention.
The burden's going to be on the collectors. I mean, will you support it and back us up? You know, I think.
And you guys have like the little hashtag, we want more Motu, we want more She-Ra. So that's what people need to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, tell everybody at Mattel what you want to hear or what you want to see, and just let us know. Okay. I mean, like, that's the world we live in now, you know? Right. A small few can be very vocal.
And this is where my issue comes in. And frankly, I think everyone else should take issue with this as well. I'm a collector of a lot of things, including ThunderCats. You can see most of the collection in this clip I'm showing here. I'm usually on board when it comes to stuff like this. However, when it comes to Mattel, I need to draw a line in the sand here. Some bits you need to know here. In 2016, Mattel was only behind Lego in revenue concerning the overall worldwide toy market, totaling around $5.46 billion in revenue. And its ad expenditures for 2017 were at $643 million. If you think for a moment that a billion-dollar corporation that was on 2014's Fortune 500 needs a hashtag to get you a toy line, you're fooling yourselves. You're being duped into doing viral marketing for a company that makes more in a week than most of you will in your lifetime. These are the same people that acquired the license for ThunderCats in 2015 for their Matty Collector branch. They do not need you to beg for a toy line. Period. When I stated this publicly on the ThunderCats Classics Facebook page, the owner of that page tried to discredit my argument and then deleted my comment altogether when I debunked what he was saying. When I messaged him and took him personally to task on it, the focal point of his statement was that he didn't want any negativity. Stick a pin in that, because we'll be touching on it again later. I want new ThunderCat figures, sure, but not from Mattel. Why? For several reasons. Let's start with the nonsense that was Matty Collector. Aside from the first 2 times that people's credit card information was stolen, Matty Collector has been a dubious business at best. I'll spare you the bigger details due to time, but I'll just touch on some of the other ones here really quick. Firstly, Matty Collector started in the Masters of the Universe Classics way back in 2008. And despite the rest of the toy industry pushing forward into the next decade, the basic body, or buck if you will, for this toy line has remained unchanged. They have been selling customers the same body with a different cosplay for that entire line. Now, this isn't some tiny mom and pop company. This is Mattel, a literal world leader. So, when they got the license to ThunderCats, what did they do? Did they take into account the fact that the ThunderCats have varying heights and body types and create brand new bucks? No, of course not. They just slapped new cosplays onto the old bucks and sold them to us because we were, and maybe still are, a bunch of suckers. And no, the Motu bucks by no means works for ThunderCats, such as seen here with the 8-inch Bandai Classics Lion-O compared to the Matty Collector one. In the show, there are 2 iconic poses for Lion-O, Sight Beyond Sight, and Summoning the ThunderCats. And in both of these, the Bandai toy works much better than the Matty one. That's because one was built from the ground up as a ThunderCats figure, and the other is a Motu Buck in a cosplay. And it gets even worse here. What's the center point for the entire show of ThunderCats? The Sword of Omens, right? Well, Matty Collector couldn't even get that right. From length to the angle of the crossguard, it fails compared to the Bandai version. Same with the Claw Shield, which, for some reason, Matty Collector seems to think is covered in fur. Now, you could assume that maybe if Mattel or Matty continued this line, they would use different sculptors, right? Nope. They'll use the Four Horsemen, same people who did the Matty Collector Classics line and the Matty Collector ThunderCats line, and it makes me honestly wonder if they ever watched the show or used model sheets for reference concerning some of the stuff they put out. But we're not done here either, people. No. Remember this? Under Matty Collector, Panthro and Lion-O were the same height, and Pumira was much taller than Lion-O. Because instead of reworking things for a completely different series, they decided to just be cheap and keep wringing money out of fans like us. And don't let the fancy photos at the PowerCon fool you. Take a look here. See how tall Grun is compared to the standard Motu figure? When he's clearly the same size as Jaga in the show and in the images? That means they'll be screwing up the scale even more. This is all due to them using the same bucks for completely different characters, and it's pathetic. Now, I've heard the counter-arguments, such as, it's a small-run collector's line, what do you expect? Well, considering the fact that they're charging higher than a retail figure at the same scale for said line, I'd expect better quality. If you're running a collector's line that is doing worse in design and quality control than mass-market figures, you are doing something wrong. Another one I hear is, they're doing this to please fans. They said they don't really make a profit off of it. Fortune 500 company. Billions of dollars. They are lying to you, and you are buying into it. Be smarter. I went out this weekend and actually bought 2 newer figures in stores. One of the newest Marvel Legends Wolverine, and one of Gwenpool. You'll see when I try to articulate the classics HeMan to match Wolverine, he fails. Miserably. That's because Wolverine has double-jointed knees, double-jointed elbows, and even a sick pec crunch that allows him to tuck his arms in close. HeMan has none of these things. Not even the newest one, which would be the Filmation one, that doesn't have it either. And even if you look at the arm detailing on Wolverine versus HeMan, Wolverine has texture, it has vascularness, HeMan is nothing. I did the same with Classics Teela. She does it a bit better than HeMan did, but the lack of articulation still kills it. Remember, these characters are supposed to be warriors. Movement is essential. I know some people out there are still hoping Super 7 will get the license and do well too, but let me kill that for you right now. See this HeMan? He's their newest product, snapped right at the legs due to it being made with cheap plastic. And he's got bald spots right out the package. And this isn't just some online photo, this is mine. I didn't gorilla hand this sucker, I was gentle, and it still snapped. There's also the fact that every wave they've done so far has been late. And look at all of these quality control issues. Some of these people can't even get replacements because the company apparently has some sort of asinine policy about returning open product. And if that's not enough for you, here's this.
This just in, ThunderCats is dead. Yeah, sorry to tell you guys, but unfortunately, the ThunderCats line with Super 7 is not going to be going forward. We'd really hoped it was going to be, but we got a very sort of obfuscative answer here lately from WB that just says something along the lines of, we can no longer give you guys the license to make ThunderCats. So hopefully that means that there's some sort of reboot in the works and that ThunderCats fans will get a whole new line of figures and a whole new TV show, and Lion-O will come to your house and like have a birthday party with you, but unfortunately we are not going to be able to continue making the Mattel style ThunderCats figures.
No thanks. I'd rather this property not be handled by such a patronizing simpleton. Brian Flynn can piss right off. And speaking of which, It's time to remove that pin. I spoke earlier about the obsession people in fan communities in general have with positivity, and how hard they try to keep negativity out. Let's talk about this for a moment. Firstly, negativity is defined as the expression of criticism. If you are unable to handle criticism, then get off the internet and go live in a cave. This goes especially for fan communities, because it kills them. What do I mean? Well, let's go take a look at HeMan.org, the biggest He-Man site on the web. Here's me a while ago getting a warning. And for what? I highlighted the important parts right here. On this site, you're not even allowed to say that a writer sucks, because it goes against their rules about not respecting them. This creates an echo chamber that no one can actually voice their real opinion in. And why is that? Because Val Staples, the man who owns the site, wants to be buddy-buddy with Mattel, so he keeps critical comments about them off his site. And while he has all the right to do so, considering he owns the place, I must voice that it is unethical, immoral, and intellectually bankrupt. This is why your community keeps getting screwed over. And it spreads to the ThunderCats fandom too. The biggest ThunderCats site is also ran by people that operate the He-Man page, and they'll ban you for being critical of things too. This has to change if you want things to get better. If we are not allowed to openly criticize products, people, and ideas, then we will stagnate and die. This is one of the many reasons why I don't care for Pixel Dan. The man's not a reviewer, he's a paid promoter. I have yet to see a video where he gets visceral on something he's given. That's why I'll take retro blasting over him any day. And speaking of which, Michael at Retro Blasting got into some heat with the Star Wars fandom earlier this year by pointing out that Hasbro does not need pre-orders to fund something being made.
Well, here's what I think. I think that crowdfunding, I think corporations crowdfunding their toys is kind of, I think it's kind of scummy, actually.
And did the community engage Michael intellectually to have an open discourse? No, of course they didn't. They insulted him, lied about him, and tried to smear him. And for what? A 6-foot piece of plastic? Have you people lost your minds? We're collectors, sure, but if we're going to act like drug addicts trying to get one more fix over toys, then we need to reevaluate ourselves. Seriously. If you're deleting comments, smearing someone, and overall being a clown for a piece of plastic made by a company that won't even know your name even when you're dead in the ground, you need to grow up. Negativity is a necessary, vital thing in life. Criticism allows us to discuss and change things to make them better. Banning negativity in a community like I have stated here can lead to an echo chamber at best, and letting monsters freely operate in your community at worst. Remember what Jaga said in the very first episode?
Shall I awaken Lionel?
No. Why upset the child needlessly, Tigra?
Wake him. If he is to rule, he must learn to take the bad with the good.
I think we could all stand to relearn that lesson. You want ThunderCat toys? So do I. But I want them to be made faithfully, properly, not with decade-old bucks and done by a company that tries to use dedicated people to do their jobs for them. Stop with the hashtags. Stop trying to tweet and post. Have some dignity. We're adults, not children. ThunderCats deserves better than the garbage Maddie saddled us with. There's also the fans of the 2011 series to think about. Demanding a better product now makes it easier for them to get in on this. You want to contact Mattel and tell them you want a ThunderCats line to industry standards? Here's the number. But I think I've made my case and ranted enough about this for now. Tell me what you think. Unlike other places, I happily accept negativity. Special thanks to my patrons Avis and MegaUmi. If you like my nonsense and want to support me for as low as $1 a month, feel free to check the link in the description. Due to work, I may not be able to do my live stream this coming Friday, but I'm sure going to try. If I'm able to, it'll be at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, like normal. Still trying to go to Don Bluth's Academy. Oh look, a title card. That's neat. Check out some of this neat art sent my way. All you have to do to get your art featured like this is to go to Twitter or Tumblr and tag your art with Lio Feature My Art. I'll keep the ThunderCats art for my ThunderCats specific videos and other 80s art for all the other videos. I'm hoping to cover the HeMan portion of Deception of a Generation next week. So if you have HeMan art you want featured, use that hashtag. I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care.